Now we're going to turn left at the first street. So we come down here, we check our mirrors, we indicate, we slow down. There is a cycleway on our left, we just check our mirror and our blind spot if we're going slowly enough. And we'll continue straight ahead. We indicate out of the roundabout, cancel the indicator, and we've got to pass parked cars. Now we check our mirrors, we indicate, we check our blind spot, and we're turning left up here. Now we can cut across this solid white line because it's necessary to get around the parked cars. Those cars are obstacles, permanent obstacles if you like. Okay, we stop at the stop line, we check over our right shoulder, and there is a vehicle coming. Okay, we check ahead to make sure there are no pedestrians trying to cross in front of us, and away we go. And we watch out for people opening doors on cars, right? 1.5 meters clearance is what we need, because potentially every single one of these cars could open their door as we drive past. Now, although the speed limit along here is the default speed limit of 50, we would not do 50 along here if there were parked cars and pedestrians around. We'd probably do something like about 35, but it's whatever you consider to be safe in the circumstances. Okay, we're going to turn around here, come back the other way. Now, one of the aspects of the Joondalup test area is that a lot of these streets have houses which don't have driveways. So the only way that you can turn the vehicle around is either by using a side street or a laneway. In this case, we're going to use a side street to turn around and do a U-turn or a hook turn. So we drive in here with our left indicator on. We change the indicator now to right. We look over our right shoulder and we turn sharply right. And we note that there is a stop line on the road in front of us. So we come down to the stop line and we stop. And then we look around to see who's coming from our right and left. Now, if we can't see properly, we need to tell the assessor that we can't see. And we tell them that we're going to creep out slowly and have a look. And then when we establish that it's clear, we can go. So you must do that to reassure the assessor that you're not just driving blind. So if you can't see, then it's a dangerous situation to go out beyond the stop line. Once you've stopped though, you can then move out and have a bit of a look. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary to do that because you can't wait, obviously, for people to come and move their cars. Okay, we're going to do a U-turn or a hook turn using the street to the right. We come down here and we turn very late. We almost drive past the intersection and we drive into this wide part of the intersection here, using as much steering as is required to get around, usually full lock, but it depends on how wide the intersection is. Then we change our indicator to left and we stop at this stop line completely. Okay, once we've established that it's clear, we can go. But with the stop lines on the road, when you're doing U-turns, you must stop completely. The technique for it, when you come up to a stop line, is not to look around and try and establish what the other traffic's doing. You've got one job to do when you come to a stop line in your driving test, and that is to stop. So you make sure you stop first, and then you have a good look around. There's no time limit for stopping. You don't have to stop for 3 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever, but you do have to stop. Now, a lot of people are probably thinking by now they're sick of watching this video and they'll go and watch something else. Well, I'm telling you, if you want to pass your driving test, you need to watch this video from start to finish, because there are no shortcuts to passing your driving test. The material that we're giving you here is material that's essential for you to pass your test. And the reason that the fail rate is so high in driving tests is not because the assessors are mean people and they're picking on you, it's because you haven't driven to the standard required. The only way you're going to drive to the standard required in your driving test is to learn to the standard required. And that means paying attention to your parents, to your instructors, and to the instructional videos that you see, and to watch them in full. And the one other point you need to bear in mind is that there are publications put out by the Department of Transport, and you need to read them in full. Now, in your driving test, there'll be times when the assessor tells you to pull over and park because they want to explain something to you while you're not actually driving. This will usually be at the start of the 2 exercises in the driving test, which are left something behind and stopping for shopping. Now, an important point about parking on the side of the road in Joondalup is that we have these triangular pieces of curb that jut out, as you can see in front of us here. Now, the triangular pieces of curb are every second parking space. On this road, the parking spaces aren't marked with white lines, but they are long enough to accommodate 2 vehicles. So, if you're driving along a road and you want to park forwards in a parking space, you can only park forwards in a parking space and do it successfully if you have 2 empty spaces together. That is, 2 spaces between the triangular pieces of curb. If there's already a car occupying the space and there's only a single bay left between those 2 triangular pieces of curb, then you simply cannot drive in forwards. Doesn't matter how hard you try, you won't get the car straight and you won't get it close enough to the curb. So, look for an area that's long enough for 2 vehicles, right, that's empty, and you can drive in forwards. Practice that technique. And if you see an empty space and it's only one empty space with another vehicle in there between the 2 triangular pieces of curb, then you'll simply have to do a reverse parallel park. What that means is you're going to have to learn to do a reverse parallel park, and you're going to have to be good at it. All right, so don't scrimp on your learning. Don't just try and bluff your way through and hope that you don't get asked to do a reverse parallel park, because you may well get asked to do one, and it's going to catch you out in your test. It's also an essential skill to have later on when you're driving around after you've got your license. Okay, we just make sure that we clear these cars by 1.5 meters. Coming down to this stop sign, we're going to turn left. We make sure that we follow the curb closely. So we start to turn the corner already, okay, but we make sure we stop at the stop line. Okay, there's no one coming, so away we go. Now in this case here, there's only a single parking space there on our left, so we'd have to use the reverse parallel park technique there. Okay, turning around here to the right, coming down dead straight, almost driving past the intersection, turning sharply now, using this wide part of the road, coming up towards the stop line, indicating left, looking at the line only, stopping completely, now checking over our right shoulder and checking ahead. If it's clear, we go. Now you notice here on our left we only have single parking spaces, so these would be parking spaces where we have to reverse park in. We can't go in forwards in a single bay, as I mentioned before. On our right, again, a single parking space. And down here on our left, behind the white car, only a single parking space. You would have to reverse parallel park there. But up here ahead, in front of this 4-wheel drive, we have 2 parking spaces together. You could drive into that one forwards and successfully park. Up here though, on the left, a single parking space, then the blue car, and then a single parking space again. Okay, I'll be turning around here doing a U-turn, so I almost drive past the intersection and turn very sharply. In this case here we have to use full lock because it's a very narrow street. Indicating left, there's no line on the road, so it defaults to give way. We check down the street to our right, and away we go. Also check to our left as we drive away because there could be a pedestrian attempting to cross the road in front of us. Okay, making sure we clear the parked cars by 1.5 meters, so we do that by driving close to the centre but not over it. And we're turning into this laneway on the right, making sure that we drive into the left side of the lane. We turn a little bit late and we steer ourselves into the left side, get ourselves nice and straight, and we stop when our right hand exterior mirror reaches the footpath on this particular street. At that point, the back of our car is just off the road and our car is straight, so we're turning 90 degrees back onto the street from here by using full lock. We need to make sure that we don't drive the car onto the wrong side of the road. Just before you stop, you straighten your wheels up and stop completely. Put the car into drive, or first gear in a manual. Check your mirrors, indicate right, and check your blind spot over your right shoulder, and then move away and cancel your indicator. If you were going to park on the left, you would need to do it in reverse. So we'd come down here, we'd get to the driveway, or the laneway, put our indicator on, and come down just past the laneway. Put the car in reverse, indicator off, and looking all around, And looking into the lane as well, we reverse in. We just go far enough to get the nose of the car off the road. Straighten up and stop. Put the car back into drive. Edge forward, looking up the street to make sure it's clear. And then away we go. And the reason that we go in backwards is so that we're not reversing across the entire street. So if we go in forwards on the right and reverse on the left, then we're never in a situation where we have to reverse across two lanes of traffic. So that is the preferred technique for doing laneway or driveway turns.